I was not prepared for the ending of this book. I just finished reading Red Queen, and it definitely surprised me. I wasn't really sure what to expect going into it, which I feel like I say about a lot of the books that I read, because I like to go in kind of blind. I like to have maybe a basic idea, or maybe not. Maybe just kind of go in, knowing that this is probably fantasy, but otherwise not really knowing much. That's kind of fun to me. So that's basically what I did with Red Queen. There's a small blurb on the back, and I did read that and then just kind of jumped into it. And this was coming straight off of Girls of Paper and Fire. So I did kind of mix up the two for the first little bit, or like I kept imagining the characters from Girls of Paper and Fire and then realizing, oh, they're not in this world. This is completely different. So that was maybe not the smartest choice on my end, but I still enjoyed this book. What better place to start than the characters? As y'all know, I am a character-driven reader. I love characters. I'm a character-driven writer also. So it's important for me to at least be able to tolerate the characters. And I feel like there's a tendency in fantasy, maybe not quite as much with like newer books, but at least for a time, where the female main character is just whiny and throws herself a pity party all the time and is pretty much useless and just annoying. And not even just fantasy. I have definitely read some romance books like that. I've read some contemporary fiction with female main characters that are just written that way. And I don't understand why. I don't know what the craze was, but I can say that Mare is not quite like that in this book. She is at times kind of useless, but not really, not entirely. Like, she's definitely more of a protagonist than a lot of other main characters that I've read. And she's not super whiny, and she has not led a charmed life, but she loves her life and is not overly sorry for herself. Like, she definitely sees that her life could be improved and the lives of her people could be improved, but she's working towards that instead of just complaining about it. So I did like Mare. She was likable enough. Maven really surprised me. He's not at all who I expected or who I thought he was. And I think that's kind of all I can say, but Maven definitely surprised me. So a good character, I think, because he was not just flat and predictable. So good job on Maven. I still don't really know what I think of Cal. Like, I know that Mare is supposed to like him and does for various reasons, but I feel like that was such an instance of insta-love or insta-romance in this book. So I still am not fully behind Cal. I like him enough. I think he is charming and fun and sweet and whatever, but the jury is still out on him. Same with Killorn. The jury's still out on Killorn because we just didn't see him quite enough. I did really love Lucas, who's not really a main character, but I really liked him. I thought he was done really well. Like, he's a guard that actually cares. And Julian became more of a favorite than I expected him to. When he was brought in the beginning, I thought, we're not really going to see a whole lot of him. He's not going to matter. And then he did matter. He was a very important character. So I think the characters were pretty well done. They were at least likable, which sometimes that's all I ask. The plot was not entirely what I expected. Like, I got a little scared when towards the middle of the book we were already approaching what I thought was going to be a very climactic moment, and it ended up just being another way to move the plot forward, which is great. Just, I was very surprised by that. That was not like the ending of the book. It was just another like stepping stone in the progress of the story. And then the ending completely threw me for a loop. There were a few reveals and like twists that I expected. There were some that I absolutely did not and would not have called or seen coming. And I guess that's mostly true. I think there was one that I thought about as a possibility and then very quickly dismissed. Like, no way, that's not gonna happen. And then that is exactly what happened, and I just was not prepared for it. So the ending definitely threw me, and I'm very excited to get into the next book, which I believe is Glass Sword, just because I want to see how the story progresses and how Victoria Aveyard continues this for another 3 books. Like, I want to know what happens and how the world expands and changes and how the characters grow. And one of the things that I'm really curious to see how it gets resolved is the love triangle. So For most of this book, we had more than a love triangle. Mare had 3 romantic interests, which, girl, how? 3 good-looking, eligible young men? When does that happen? But it is clear that there's like a hierarchy among them of which one Mare likes best, or which one the author is kind of pushing her towards. And for the majority of the book, I disagreed with Mare's choice, or choices, or whatever. It's still confusing. There's still a love triangle. But I definitely was rooting for a different love interest, and he has been taken out of the runnings. Yeah, let's just put it that way. So, which had to happen, I guess, because he was not the one that Mare was being, like, written towards. So I was just wondering, how is this going to get resolved? How is he going to fall and the others be lifted up so that the reader is happy with her choice also? Because until that point, I was not. And now she can't choose him. So I'm really interested to see how this goes, because we still have a love triangle. And right now, I mean, by the end of the book, Mare is kind of like, oh, well, this one's not a choice either. But you know that he is. If, as a reader, I know that he still is an option, and I don't really know if one of them is going to have to die, or I don't know how she's going to choose. I don't know what's going to happen. So I do want to see where that goes, because they're not bad options. It's not like they were terrible and the other one was great. There was a period of time where I thought so, but they're not bad options. I just don't really know how she's going to choose or how this is going to get resolved. So that's one of the things that is pushing me towards reading the next book very quickly. But also just the entire plot, just knowing how the world gets saved, and how these 2 nations, well, they're not even nations, but how these people groups who are completely divided, how they're going to come together. So I'm very interested to see what happens. And I think that's about it. I also have a review on Goodreads if you want to check that out, but I think I said basically the same things, probably less in depth there. But I'm just trying to avoid spoilers, because this is just the first book in a series, and I don't want to have spoilers in all of my videos. So trying to avoid spoilers, so we're done here, I guess. But I gave it 3 stars on Goodreads, and I stand by that. Because while I did really like it, I don't know if I would pick it up again and again and read it over and over, and I also don't know if I would like recommend it to everybody. I think if you like fantasy, it's a good fantasy story. But if you don't like fantasy, then it's not really worth picking up. Whereas there are some fantasy series that I think are worth reading, even if that's not your preferred genre. So 3 stars. It was good. And that's it for the video, really. So I hope that you enjoyed. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe. And leave some comments down below. Have you read Red Queen? Do you have other fantasy series that you really love? Or if you don't read fantasy, what genre do you read mostly? And what are your top books in that genre? And that's really all I have to say. So have a blessed day, everybody, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!